chance for 2 straight over the ACC's best. After Carolina, there is reason to fear the Turk. So sit back, relax, and join us for ACC basketball. Wednesday Night Hoops presented by Disney Parks. It's all part of Judgment Week. Tonight, number 7 Duke against the Maryland Terrapins. North Carolina's stunning loss to Maryland has cut their ACC lead to just 1 game in the loss column over Clemson and Duke. Maryland has surged to 6-6 and at 500, presumably in line for an NCAA bid if they can keep it going. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patrick, Jay Billis. It's great to have you with us. Speaking of the NCAA bid, everybody's looking for that signature win. Maryland got it against North Carolina. This one would work, too.
This one would seal the deal. I think if you win this one, you're in. And Maryland has got a good resume. And I think your point about being 500 in a league like the ACC makes a very positive statement about how good of a team you are. I think Maryland is right on the cusp of the NCAA tournament. This would seal it.
Mike Krzyzewski has made a major change in his lineup. There aren't many coaches in this country that would look at a 22-5 record this late in the year and do that.
Well, they were searching, and I think Krzyzewski felt like if they kept on that path, things weren't going to get much better than they were right then. But with the insertion of Elliot Williams into the lineup, that's freed up John Shire to be the point guard, and this has been a different team the last 2 games.
Who's your star watch for tonight?
Well, you have to go with Gerald Henderson for Duke. In ACC play, Henderson averaging over 20 points per game. There hasn't been a better player in ACC play than Henderson, and Grievous Vasquez had one of the great performances in ACC play this year against North Carolina with 35 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists. He was magnificent.
Milborn and Henderson in the center circle. Maryland in gold, the same uniforms they won in the North Carolina upset. Singler had it knocked out of bounds. Take a look at the lineups, and the difference you see for Duke was Elliot Williams, the 6'4" freshman out of Memphis, Tennessee, making his 3rd start, and he's made a difference.
Maryland going with man-to-man. They can switch some screens, but they're really going to try to play off of Williams, and this is a key for both teams is rebounding. Maryland not a great rebounding team.
Singler had that offensive rebound. He goes out to Shire, who has been shooting better, but not that time. And Sean Mosley with a rebound gives it up to Grievous Vasquez, who was absolutely unstoppable against Carolina. Milborn in the lane. Got it. Maryland with a 2-0 lead.
Anytime that a big guy sets a screen inside, those big guys need to come back toward the ball. They will be open if they are tough enough to run their offense and come back to the ball.
Terps have been tough at home against ranked teams. 4 of the last 5 have resulted in victories. Shire working as the point guard. He has the best assist-to-turnover ratio in the club. Henderson. Boy, he can just explode to the goal.
Well, that's one area where Henderson can really kill you is on drives. He can shoot it, but he wants to drive, and there's the transition, Mike. That's what Maryland wants to do. They want to try to beat Duke down the floor, score easy baskets in transition where they don't have to play against their half-court defense.
They wouldn't mind 105-104. Last team with the ball wins because they think it would be them. And Elliot Williams knocks it down from outside. The young man, have you ever seen a Duke team give quality minutes to somebody who had played so little coming into this point of the season?
Well, it's unusual because you wouldn't have a freshman that hasn't played up to this point that plays with the kind of confidence he's playing with. It really is a great story of a young man being prepared to play and that preparation meeting the opportunity to play.
Thomas. Here comes Vasquez, an outstanding rebounder. Leads the club in 3 categories. Nice pass from Neal to Milbourne, partially blocked by Singler. Milbourne tries again and draws a foul.
And when Milbourne went to the deck, look at all of his teammates going over to him. Maryland spent a lot of time yesterday in practice talking about staying together and talking.
Singler picks up the foul. Gary Williams, very upbeat this afternoon. Certainly would have to be after that North Carolina win. And this is payback night if the Terps could win this one. They were just hammered at Duke. The worst defeat Gary Williams had ever absorbed in his 20 years at Maryland.
Maryland putting on a little full court pressure, trapping off the first pass, 1-2-1-1.
Outstanding officiating crew to go with an outstanding matchup tonight. Shire got it.
One of the things that Shire has benefited as Elliott Williams
Picks up the foul in the backcourt. Shire has benefited from this move of Williams into the starting lineup because he gets moved to the point guard. He's not being guarded by
the big athletic 2s and 3s that he was guarded by earlier in the year. Now he's being guarded by point guards that are smaller, usually aren't as good in defending off the ball. Point guards are usually good defending on the ball.
So when Shire gives it up, he's finding some opportunities that weren't quite there a couple of weeks ago.
And he seems to have more gas at the end, too.
Well, I think a lot of guys have been energized by this move. Great pass and move by Milbourne.
Pretty move. Milbourne with the left hand. He has 6 points. 6 of the Terps' 8.
Anytime Maryland screens, they're going to be looking for the screener. That is going to be open.
Vasquez kicks it out. Bowie. This is what they want to do. Run, and then run some more. How about this for an atmosphere?
Doesn't get any better.
Williams very athletic. Henderson. Vasquez with another rebound. He may have a triple-double in the first half at this rate. Already has 3 boards in less than 4 minutes.
But he does look dialed in and focused. That was a pretty good pass, but a very athletic
Move to break contact and get around in front by Gerald Henderson and knock that away.
Shire comes up against Bowie. Shire down the lane with a runner and fouled by the sophomore from Greenbelt, Maryland. 17,950 fans here at the boost they needed at this time of the year.
Well, there's no question. This team was really struggling, but it's a solid team that can play very well when they're confident.
Check in with Heather Cox. She'll work the sideline for us. Heather?
And less than 3 weeks away from Selection Sunday, just how important was that Maryland win over Carolina? Terps players all but guaranteed to me that it would ignite a late season run and that it's alleviated some of the pressures that built up over the last month because of external distractions. Eric Hayes said winning cures all, and David Neal added, this win puts us back on the map as a tournament team. Now the goal now to prove that the Carolina win wasn't an aberration and to seek redemption against a Duke team that beat the Terps by 41 a month ago.
And Heather, those numbers that we had up on the screen showed you just what 2 tremendous comebacks can do and how much it could boost this ball club.
Interesting psychological things going on in this game.
You've got the payback aspect for Maryland of having lost by 41, but they're also on a high having just beaten North Carolina. Duke coming into this game on a little bit of a high with this lineup change and feeling pretty good about themselves.
Eric Hayes is checked into the ball game as Sean Mosley gets the turnaround jump shot. Dino Gregory, number 33, is also in off of Gary Williams' bench.
Mosley did a nice job of just locking down Nolan Smith in the post and getting that easy post opportunity by burying him in the paint.
McClure is in for the first time for Duke. He wears number 14. Smith.
Maryland's help side defense has been very good. Everybody's seeing the ball. They are loading up on the ball handler.
Shot clock at 4. Shire has to force one from outside. Got a pretty decent look under the circumstance, but the rebound goes to Gregory. He pushes it to Vasquez, who wants to be in total control.
Maryland getting into their 2-3 set. They're going to just run a little entry and try to get into that flex set if they can.
Vasquez, too strong.
That was his first shot of the game.
Scored the first 16 points against North Carolina for Maryland, and he's not gotten many opportunities early.
Singler kicks it out to Smith. Nolan Smith, 34% long-range shooter, knocks that one down.
Well run by Duke. A little ball screen, pick and pop, and whenever you give up the middle, you are creating a help and recover situation, and Vasquez just had to go too far to be able to get back to Smith.
Hayes right now is operating at the point, so Vasquez can get a better look at taking the shot.
Maryland into their flex, and the screener, the guy at the low block, is popping back into the paint.
Vasquez gives it up. Baseline jump shot by Dino Gregory, and here comes a foul. More Judgment Week action tomorrow night on ESPN at 7 Eastern, West Virginia and Cincinnati. Then at 9, number 16, Purdue faces Michigan. It's the Thursday night showcase on ESPN, and Bob Huggins returning to Cincinnati for the first time. That last foul was on Sean Mosley, his first.
Number 20, Elliott Williams.
Henderson will get a breather. We're tied at 12. About a third of the way through the first half. Hayes was very good off the bench against North Carolina. Showed the kind of emotion they've been hoping he would have been showing all year. McClure trying to take Gregory inside.
Maryland's defense has been very solid thus far in the game. They are
a lot of intensity.
Yeah, they are staying down. Great move by Shire.
Shire kicks it out, threw it away.
Well, he just took it one dribble too far. That was a great little head fake hesitation move. If he had stopped for that short little pull-up jumper, that would have been the best thing to do. Took it one dribble too far and turned it over.
Great little crossover. That was just too far. You know, he put himself in a position by leaving the floor to make a pass and turning that ball over.
How many times do we see guys get caught up in the air with nowhere to go? Bravas Vasquez again. Singler got the run. Now, there's nothing this kid can't do. That was his first bucket of the night.
He's such a smart player. I don't think he gets credit for being as smart as he is. When he plays with poise, he's not only one of the best players in the ACC, but one of the best guards in the country.
Yes, he is. Greg Paulus in for the first time. McClure with a rare shot. Singler, good offensive rebound, and then lost it. And there's a foul on Nolan Smith, a reach-in that stopped the fast break. So everything, even though it's only a 2-point game, everything so far seems to be in Maryland's favor. Zubek, the 7-footer, will check in for the first time. He had arguably his best game of his career in that first game against Maryland. Three won't go. Gregory over the back of McClure, and he'll pick up a foul.
Bravas Vasquez, very good with the ball in his hands, but also good without the ball. Just curling off that little wing screen, getting the ball, and he's got the height and the skill level to get that shot off. A little running one-hander in the lane.
Williams lost his dribble on the way in.
Not really a scoring lineup right now for Duke.
Tough shot. Smith under pressure. Vasquez loves the open court. Kicks it out for three. No, but a foul. And it's going to be on Nolan Smith, his second. Picked up two in a hurry.
Bravas Vasquez, there may not be a more important player to his team in the Atlantic Coast Conference. You can see leads them in scoring, leads the team in rebounding, assists, and steals on the season. But his emotional lift that he provides his team, I think, is the biggest factor that makes him a great player.
Well, you can't even imagine what they do without Vasquez in the lineup. I'm sure Gary Williams wouldn't even like to consider what would happen.
Well, plus, Mike, when he grabs a rebound, and he does get a fair amount of rebounds, especially for a guard, he can take it the other way and start the break by himself. He's got 4 rebounds on the game thus far, and each one of the 4 rebounds have been defensive, and he's been able to start the break.
This is Cliff Tucker, the sophomore from El Paso, Texas, at the free throw line. He had his 2 best games of the entire year against North Carolina, including the last one when he scored 22 points. The Terps really only got scoring from 2 guys, Vasquez and Tucker, in that ball game. Most of the other guys didn't contribute much at all, and Vasquez will now go to the bench for a rare breather.
Well, Cliff Tucker had 5 made 3-point field goals in that game against North Carolina. He only had 7 made threes coming into the game. So I think he moved up on a lot of people's scouting reports.
Really did.
Just by virtue of that one game.
Maryland going to the trap. Paulus had it knocked away. He's fouled. It's going to be on Tucker.
Tucker with the reach from behind. You know, Duke can't afford to inbound that ball along the baseline and get trapped there. They were able to get the ball out, but that is not a place that you want to catch the initial pass.
It was very reminiscent of the mistakes they made against Clemson in their full court pressure that killed them in that game.
And Maryland is a good pressing team. They're nowhere near the pressing team that Clemson is.
Who is?
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point.
Thomas is back in.
Henderson can really shoot it, but he wants to drive. You've got to keep him out of the middle.
Duke hitting only 31% in the first 8.5 minutes of this game. McClure left all alone, didn't want the shot. Paulus, good head fake. A leaner, no. And out of bounds to the Terps. Good start for Maryland. 11:23 to go in the half. Going for their second straight upset. They're up by 4.
1-point game, though. Virginia Tech has the lead right there. Elsewhere, Kansas State trails Missouri early. Michigan State up 10 over Iowa. And South Carolina absolutely buried Kentucky. Mike and Jay.
Maryland with the early lead by 4. Let's check in with Heather Cox. Heather.
Duke players might be a little sleepy tonight, not just because of the late tip time. Yesterday, Maryland's fans' message boards listed the phone number for Duke's team hotel here in Maryland and urged fans to call players' rooms throughout the night to wake them up. One even went so far to advise fans to go to the hotel and pull the fire alarm to get everybody out of bed. Now, fortunately, there weren't any fire alarm pranks, but I was told the phones were ringing off the hook throughout the night. You gotta love the road games, guys.
Oh. Yeah, you know, that stuff can be funny, but pulling fire alarms, I mean, that's dangerous stuff.
Yeah, that's where the fun ends.
Although that did happen to me one time when I was playing. I did get out of the building as fast as I could. I don't think I've ever moved that fast, frankly.
Reach in on Henderson. I believe that'll be 1 on Henderson.
Maryland, there are no tricks when you play Maryland. You know exactly what's coming. The question is, can you stop it? And one of the keys for Maryland, getting out in transition. Can they score transition baskets? And are they going to be tough enough to run their options and run their offense against pressure?
Changed the foul to Lance Thomas. Of course, you would think the players would have a chance to get a couple of naps today since this is a 9 o'clock start.
Yeah, that's good in theory. I could never sleep on a game.
The juices start to flow. Neal tried to keep it alive. Well, he battles at 6'7". He's always playing people bigger than he is.
Now you look at him, and he's every man out there. But I'll tell you what, Dave Neal's a smart player, and he does a good job.
Henderson, pretty drive there, and Vasquez called for a foul, and Gravis Vasquez always speaks his mind to the officials after a whistle blows. Saturday afternoon, 3:30 Eastern, ABC with a couple of regional games. You'll either see this Duke Blue Devil team take on Virginia Tech or number 3 Oklahoma and Texas Tech. College basketball presented by KFC, part of Judgment Week on ABC Saturday. Henderson from the baseline.
That is a young man playing with a great deal of confidence. Anytime you play on the road, Mike, when you can execute your out-of-bounds underplays and get open shots, that's like the kicking game in football.
Milbourne, pretty drive by the junior from Roswell, Georgia. Henderson, by the way, is coming off of a career best 35 against Wake Forest, a game that Duke really had to have and played very well winning. Henderson partially blocked. No offensive rebounds for the Blue Devils.
And numbers here for Maryland.
Hayes, good bounce pass, a runner, no offensive foul. You can't drive that far against Duke. They play too good a help defense.
Mike, here's an example of what Maryland's trying to do in this ball game. They set a little flex screen. Oh, this is the charge. Good job by Henderson to get over on the charge. But take a look. There was a screen set by Milbourne, and he came right back to the ball. A little flex screen. And the screener is the guy that's going to be open. But you can't just spin into the lane and call for the ball. You have to come back to the ball. That's what Maryland's doing, and they're getting most of their scores in the paint.
Milbourne led the Maryland scoring in the earlier meeting between these teams. Singler, good head fake, baseline, good pass to Thomas. Knocked away. Williams with a rebound. He has it knocked away and picked up by Shire. Shot clock continues to run. It's down to 5. Shire has to pick one up.
You bring that ball down, Mike, Maryland's going to try to take it from you. They don't come over just to put their hands up and keep their body between you and the basket. They come over to steal the ball, and they've been knocking it away. Good cut.
Hayes with a good pass. Mosley with the cut that missed the shot.
Maryland's done a good job of keeping Duke from driving the ball thus far.
Henderson kicks it back out. Williams into the lane. What's an odd-looking shot, but you'll take it every time it goes down.
That little runner, he just pulled the string on it, but Duke making very good use of the shot fake. Little shot fake, Maryland leaving the floor, and that has opened up the drive. That's actually been better than some of the ball movement they've got.
Vasquez back in. Mosley, nice spin, missed the shot. Boy, how disappointing. Couple of point-blank looks after good moves. Can't get the shot to go down, however.
Mike, here's the flex screen I'm talking about. A little screen right there, and the man comes off it. Now, when he comes off, the screener is going to come to the ball and be wide open. So you're worried about the cutter, and then all of a sudden you get the screener wide open in the lane. But that screener's got to come back to the ball in order to get it.
Lead has been cut to 2.
Maryland not really guarding Elliott Williams or Lance Thomas. They're just loading up in the lane. Vasquez nowhere near his man.
Shire drives. Hayes, good defense, was there to block it. Kicks it out to Vasquez. Double teamed and fouled. That's going to be on Lance Thomas, a reach in. That will be his second. 7:42 to go first half. A good one from College Park. Maryland with a 2-point lead here in the first half. 7:42 to go. Even there hasn't been a lot of scoring. The intensity has been there for both ball clubs. And I think particularly Maryland, this is a team that has been embarrassed a couple of different times this year, but they don't look like that team anymore.
No, they're playing with a great deal of confidence. And this is not a big Maryland team. Usually Maryland's got a guy that they can lock you down in the post with. Some big, big, strong post guy. And they don't have that this year. They've had to play a little bit differently. And they are playing very well right now. And they're playing together. And you can see from those standings, Maryland right there for an NCAA tournament bid. You go 500 in a league as strong as the ACC, you're getting in the tournament.
You better. There could be a record number of teams from the 2 power conferences, from the ACC and the Big East this year as Vasquez hits a runner.
One of the things that Duke's defense does not want to allow is spline middle drives. They want to angle those drives out and do not want to give up middle. And Vasquez very good at putting the ball on the deck. Maryland has decided they want to drive this team.
Wallace open for 3. Got it. That's a big shot because they need his presence beyond the arc.
Well,
and it's especially important for Paulus to knock down a shot for his confidence. His confidence has gone back and forth, and right now Paulus and Adrian Bowie are going at it.
Yeah.
There's a double foul.
And Adrian Bowie got away with a push.
Well, they were both elbowing and pushing and all that.
Yeah, they were.
A very good job by the official. I'm not a big fan of the double foul, but it's something that I think was necessary. And we're not seeing what happened on the other end either. But there were some elbows flying and there a lot of talking, and I think the officials did a good job to make that call right now.
Second on Bowie, first on Paulus. Holy cow, Bowie went baseline all the way under and used a left hand to put it in.
And he came from the other side of the floor. That was just a terrific cut. A poor job by Duke on out of bounds under defense.
Plumlee fouled on his jumper. Gary Williams not happy about that call.
You can see Bowie coming all the way from the other side, getting essentially a back pick from Dave Neal. And Duke did not communicate very well. Kyle Singler wasn't in position to cut off that baseline, and
A little bit too much talking and noise out there. Guys need to just shut up and play. Nobody's interested.
That'd be nice, wouldn't it? Plumlee with a free throw. That foul, by the way, was on Vasquez, his second.
You know, it's funny, Mike. You've seen in the building tonight guys like Derek Lewis, the last guy to get a triple-double before Grievous Vasquez, and guys that played here years past like Ben Coleman or Buck Williams. Like, those guys were unbelievably tough players.
Yes.
And I don't ever remember those guys talking any noise. They let their games do their talking.
No, they sure didn't have to, and they didn't take advantage of the fact that they could against a lot of guys. If you were Buck Williams, you're wiping out people every night. Great pass ahead to Shire. Tied at 22. Shire has half a dozen.
John Shire, with this switch to the point, seems like he has been re-energized.
Vasquez leaning in. Shot. You gotta love this kid. The emotion he plays with to go with the talent he has.
And I don't think he gets credit for being the smart player that he really is. Another smart play by Sean.
I agree. And Paulus picks up an offensive foul.
You can see after coming off that ball screen, just putting the ball on the deck, a little step back and step through, taking advantage of the freshman big guy, Plumlee. And Vasquez, you can see, he plays off of emotion.
Against North Carolina, he has 7 turnovers, but you can live with that because of everything else he'll bring you. Hayes. Oh, shot. Nice drive. He split the defense. And Maryland getting a lot of points, point blank.
And the two veteran guards. Maryland wants to drive Duke. They want to put the ball on the deck and drive it. And thus far, it has been successful.
Henderson fouled.
And one thing, when you talk about driving the ball, Mike, it's one thing to drive it, but you have to have movement by the other players on drives. Otherwise, that Duke defense can set, and that's where they get a lot of charges, from coming over to the weak side. And thus far, because Maryland has gotten good movement from all 5 of their players on the floor, Duke hasn't been able to get into help side situations and draw those charges quite as often as you'd expect.
Henderson, a 78% free throw shooter, hit 12 out of 14 in that 35-point outburst against Wake Forest. Great time for him for a career high with 35 points. Cuts the lead back to 2 as he got the roll there. Cliff Tucker will check back in for Maryland. And Mosley will sit down.
Well, the difference thus far in the game, putting the ball on the deck, not only in transition, but in half-court situations. Eric Hayes goes all the way to the rim. And driving again as Grievous Vasquez probably got fouled.
Henderson with the block, and there's the lob, knocked away. Dino Gregory, tremendous anticipation, no-look pass, basket. Vasquez to Tucker. He can put on a show, can he? Henderson for 3. Now they say it's a 2.
Gerald Henderson has played with a tremendous amount of confidence and followed up a really bad play by throwing that lob in traffic when it was a low percentage play that really wound up being a 4-point turnaround because Maryland converted off it and came back and very calmly sunk that 3.
He has 8 points. Vasquez leans in again, and that's blocked by Plumlee, but that's going to be goaltending.
Boy, that looked like it was way short of reaching the rim.
It did.
But just not a very smart play by Plumlee. Just leave it alone. Bad play here and a good play by Maryland. Just not a very smart play. And Vasquez, look, his eyes are up. He's looking to both sides of the floor. And then the no-look pass at the end. That's just brilliantly done by Grievous Vasquez.
Maryland by 4, under 4.5 minutes to go, first half.
Now Maryland going with a little zone in the half court. Duke can get the ball into the middle. That middle is wide open.
Williams is back in. This is Shire trying to do just that. Kicks it out to Henderson. Williams will try a 3. Too strong. 1 and done. And a foul on Plumlee.
Maryland's guards have done a very nice job rebounding. They're getting all 5 guys going to the defensive glass. And I'll tell you what, this team scoring 44 points in their last game at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Already they have 30. And I can't think of another team in the ACC that reflects their coach like Maryland does.
Yeah.
This team has fight in it.
And there's probably not a coach in the league that has more fight than Gary Williams. I mean, you know, it's a lot of coaches have a ton of fight. I'll tell you what, Gary Williams is as energetic a coach as you're going to find, and he just battles, and his team has battled over the last couple of weeks very, very well.
There were a series of articles in both the Washington and Baltimore papers criticizing Gary Williams for his lack of recruiting in recent years, and he was really upset about it, came out publicly and stated he was upset, and his players, to a man, came to his defense, and that's when they started playing a lot better.
Well, it's funny, if he can't recruit, then he's sure a heck of a coach. Last 5 years, their worst season was 19 wins.
Yeah, not bad.
16 years in a row they've had winning seasons, Mike.
And no other program in the ACC can say that. Nobody. Not Duke, not Carolina, no other program, just Maryland.
He's also got that national championship in his back pocket to fall back on. 3:22 to go first half. It's a 4-point game.
Tiger as he wins his first match in match play today. Meanwhile, the Clemson Tigers taking on Virginia Tech. We'll also have a look at Jim Calhoun going after career win number 800 as they would face Marquette. Again, a look at that score between Virginia Tech and Clemson. As you can see, under 20 seconds left, a 1-point game. It's on ESPN2.
That's a big game for both of those teams, as tightly packed as the standings are.
Maryland sticking with the zone, and Singler getting open in the middle. He has got nothing in this game, has yet to score.
Duke shooting only 36%, and the Terps 12 layups in this ballgame. One of the reasons they are shooting 56%.
Well, they've gotten them off of post feeds, like off of their flex and like that. Good block by Zubek, but they've also gotten them in transition.
Zubek just stood his ground against Dino Gregory with that big advantage. Back in at the point. Singler rims out and then got the roll. His first bucket at the 2:29 mark.
Maryland has gotten a lot off of driving the ball. They've moved it from side to side. They've been pretty patient.
Ball is trying to stay in front of Hayes. Done a good job on him. Forced a tough shot from the lane, but Hayes made it anyway.
Well, that's where the size of Eric Hayes really comes into play.
He can back you down, and Paulus just wasn't able to stay in front of him and gave him the paint. You have got to keep this Maryland team from driving the paint.
Paulus, a long three. Zubek with the offensive rebound, and he's fouled on the follow. More Judgment Week action tomorrow night on ESPN at 7 Eastern. West Virginia, Cincinnati. Then at 9, number 16, Purdue faces Michigan. Thursday night showcase on ESPN. And the word is in that Virginia Tech has beaten Clemson.
Virginia Tech has lost so many close games, and that's a game that the Hokies needed to boost their tournament resume. And there's so many teams coming down to the end of the season that are trying to separate themselves to be one of the best 34 after the automatic qualifiers are in.
They've got a huge game next week at home against North Carolina on Wednesday night.
Absolutely.
Boy, Brian Zubek really did a nice job on that last play, grabbing that ball and keeping it high. Didn't bring it down so that Maryland could take it away.
Vasquez, nice pass to Neal. Doesn't take Vasquez long to see those openings.
Just a miscommunication by Duke on defense left Neal open, and he kept it high as well. If he had brought it down, that would have allowed the defense to recover.
Henderson for 3. Tucker on the run. He's got some quicks. Poor shot.
He fell. He looked like they could have called a walk on that.
His foot slipped out from under him. And it was his plant foot.
Shire, good ball movement to give Paulus an open look.
And Paulus was ready to shoot as the ball arrived. That's really a key when you're a spot-up shooter. When the ball came around the horn, he was prepared.
Tied at 34, and Duke has now hit 5 out of 12 threes. Paulus has hit a couple of them.
For Duke, it's been the three-point line. For Maryland, it's been the drive.
Vasquez, fadeaway jumper. Zubek with the rebound, and Duke can play for the last shot of the half. If you had not been looking at the scoreboard, wouldn't you say that Maryland was up by a half a dozen at this point, and yet it's tied at 34?
Yeah, and Duke's done it with a three-point shot. You know, they've made 5 of them.
They've been a jump shooting team for the most part in this ball game, and you got to give credit. You know, it's 5-0 in three-point field goals made, but you got to give Maryland a lot of credit. They're loading up their defense in the lane. They're not guarding Elliott Williams. They are not guarding the big guys because they're setting a lot of screens, the Duke big guys. But Maryland's loading up and trying to keep them out of the paint. That means jump shots are going to be open, and so far Duke's been knocking some down.
There's Paulus. You get that emotion when he can hit a couple of threes, slaps the floor, and Wojciechowski, who was the National Defensive Player of the Year, said that's the way to do it. You make the bucket, you get back, and you play defense.
Well, both teams trying to play off emotion. And everybody knows that's playing in this game how important it is. It's important for Maryland because they're trying to build a tournament resume. And Duke's trying to continue to build on what they believe they've found with this new lineup.
Paulus against the double team, nearly threw it away, but Shire comes up with it. And now Duke can play for the last shot.
Maryland going to stick with this zone, but it wouldn't be a surprise to see him go man a little bit later on in the possession.
Paulus. Shire. Good pass to Zubek. Zubek blocked by Milborn. Got it back. Missed the shot. Landon Milborn at 6'7". Blocking the 7-1 Brian Zubek shot. How's that for a little defense?
Landon Milborn, essentially a three-man, gets caught behind Zubek, and he's a left-hander, goes up with this left hand to knock it away, and Zubek just can't finish the putback. That's a big play by Landon Milborn. Saved a basket.
Let's go to Heather with Gary Williams.
Coach, you told me that you attributed the earlier loss to Duke to a very tentative offense, totally different tonight. How impressed are you with your team's ability to be aggressive and take the ball to the hole?
Well, I think we've gradually gotten better since then. We learned a lot from that game, hopefully, and now we have to do it the second 20 minutes.
You told me before the game that your strategy defensively was to take a bit of a gamble, focus on Duke's big three, sag on the others. Does the strategy stay the same in the second half?
Well, those other guys are pretty good. They've made some shots against us, but we're trying to do the best we can against a real good basketball team.
Coach, nice first half. Thank you.
Gary looks like he played point in the first half. Our score at the half, Duke 34, Maryland 34. Let's go to John Saunders in the studio for the UPS halftime report.
Mike, thanks a lot. Alongside of Steve Lavin, of course, the Maryland Terrapins in the middle of the pack in the ACC. 500 team, Virginia Tech in the same type of boat, taking on Clemson on the road today. Terrell Bell receives a pass along the baseline, a little reverse with the layup. Hokies up by 4. Then Malcolm Delaney hits a 3 in the corner.
Well, crunch time performer. Big money ball with the season in terms of NCAA tournament bids on the line.
Terrence Oglesby can't get a good look to find Stitt. Puts up a 3. And the shot is no good. Virginia Tech upsets Clemson on the road 80-77. So as you look at this right now, they're over 500 in the ACC with just 17 wins. Does that get them in?
If the season ends today, Virginia Tech, if I play my Joe Lunardi role with the crystal ball, would be in the NCAA tournament. But, John, keep in mind, they still have Duke, North Carolina, and Florida State, 3 top 25 teams in front of them, and it's not going to get any easier in the ACC conference tournament.
What do you think Seth Greenberg would say if he gets knocked out again this year?
Woo! He'll be making some phone calls. Conspiracy theories.
It's conspiracy theories. This guy, no conspiracy for Jim Calhoun as he climbs the ladder looking for career win number 800 at the top of the Big East.
Yes, halftime report.
In the first meeting, it was all Duke against Maryland, but Gerald Henderson needing all of his 8 points to have the Blue Devils tied with Maryland at halftime. John Saunders alongside of Steve Lavin. We began the night with Coach Jim Calhoun, who's already a Hall of Famer, looking to pick up his 800th career victory, but it would be a tough one on the road against Marquette, a team that hadn't lost at home this year. Of course, Connecticut hadn't lost on the road. Dominic James, though, looks like he might be lost for the season.
Well, a devastating blow. They're losing an experienced quarterback, a playmaker, shot maker deluxe.
Broken bone his foot. Matthews with the easy finish. Marquette led by 6. Matthews is 20. A.J. Price, though, it was his night, knocking down a 3 to tie the game at 28 apiece. And then watch this one. That's a little ankle breaker.
Wow, creating separation, daylight, bottoms of the net.
And then under 5 minutes left, UConn by 7. Price is going to miss a shot.
Even took the time to look at the defender sliding on his fanny.
Stanley Robinson picks up the loose ball and throws this one in.
Weight room shot, John, right there, doing the chin up on the rim.
But Marquette would not fade. That's McNeil with a little runner there. Marquette down by 3. McNeil at 26. And then Price with a long 3 would finish with 36 points. But the night belonged to Coach Calhoun, 7th Division I coach, to get to 800. He spoke with Alan Hopkins.
Coach, for you personally, I know you're not prone for hyperbole, but 800th win, what does it mean to you?
Well, you're known by the company you keep, and I saw in the notes, and I kind of like that company of great coaches. But more importantly, we'll get ready for Notre Dame on Saturday, and this is a great win, and tribute to Marquette, they can really play.
Congratulations on 800. We'll see you down the road. Thanks, Coach.
He says he likes the company he keeps. Well, this is pretty good company to keep. A.J. Price.
Well, completely at peace with his game. A senior. There's the breakdown move there, creating separation. The defender in the dust, and Marquette has to ask, who's guarding this guy? Wide open. Off the bounce, creating the ability again to torch the nets from distance.
Doing that with Jerome Dyson, remember, lost for the season, so that's so big. Rutgers against Notre Dame. Notre Dame will face UConn next, but first they got to get past Rutgers. Luke Herringoti's initial shot doesn't fall, but gets the rebound and puts it back. Notre Dame by 9. 3 minutes to go. Anthony Farmer drives. Rutgers is a tough little team.
They are, and they're using the speed, good spacing there, the bounce to get to the rim.
Mike Rosario, one of the best freshmen in the country. Little ball fake, 3-pointer on the way, no good. Herringoti with the rebound. And Notre Dame hangs on to knock off Rutgers at home 70-65. So the resume here, as they climb towards 500 in the Big East, do they have to win that game at UConn to be in this tournament? Or have a chance even?
Yeah, they've got to continue to win games, John. And also, it's the conference tournament. They've got to win at least 2 games, impressive wins, knock off some ranked teams in the conference tournament to ensure that they make the NCAA tournament.
Well, for the Big East, you know that UConn, with that win, goes to the top, just half game above Louisville. Pitt, the number 1 team in the nation, they won't be at the end of the week. And Marquette drops to 12-3. Remember, the top 8 teams get buys in the Big East tournament.
Well, it's clearly the deepest league all season long, well chronicled by the pundits, the experts, the analysts. I think what's most important, what's most impressive about this league is they have more teams built in terms of personnel, in terms of talent and coaching to make runs to Detroit. That's what really separates this league from the others.
Any team on that list, you know you're going to get a rough night, and even some teams that aren't on that list. Early on in the Big 12, Missouri with a huge lead over Kansas State, 47-28. Texas Tech trailing Texas 22-16. And Iowa and Michigan State. Michigan State, a little bit schizophrenic of lately, but right now, 41-32, they have the lead over Iowa.
Mike Anderson of Missouri, my favorite for National Coach of the Year. The turnaround with the Tigers, just short of remarkable. Got him on a roll.
All right, Tigers, you're talking them. How about this Tiger? Tiger Woods, 8 months off, a baby, and bouncing back like he never missed a step.
This halftime report is delivered by UPS.
Well, Tiger Woods' much anticipated return after 8 months off and the knee surgery reconstructive. Well, all he does here, 3 up, looking to eagle 13. Tiger knocks it in. He says his short game is better than it has ever been. That's hard to believe. In the bunker on 16, second shot.
Listen to the sound of that.
Look at this. Come right up to the hole, makes a birdie putt, wins the match 3-2. He will face Tim Clark in the second round. Now, defeating Brendan Jones today. He had 10 of 16 greens, 8 of 12 fairways, and was 2 of 3 scrambling. Proves to 9-1 in the first round of this event and proves to 38-9-1 as a professional in match play. Tim Clark again in the second round. I bet Tim Clark cannot wait for that one. All right, back to basketball. Kentucky against South Carolina. Jody Meeks in Kentucky taking on the Gamecocks. Meeks with a little step back here, Lav.
He has the radar, dialing one up from a different zip code or area code.
Brandis Raley-Ross hits a corner 3. Then Avaldis Banulis makes it 3.
Gamecocks on the attack from distance. Darren Horn in his first year, a smooth transition coming over from Western Kentucky. Look at that, making it look easy down low.
Muldrow off the miss. Just goes up, pulls it off the iron, and throws it down. South Carolina blows out Kentucky as Kentucky misses a chance for their 20th victory of the season. Meanwhile, Vasquez coming off a triple-double against North Carolina, helping them lead to a tie at halftime.
ESPN.
During basketball season, you know you'll find one thing, and that's intensity, something the Terps displayed against North Carolina. There's a carryover effect to it. They're doing the same thing against Duke tonight. Welcome back to Wednesday Night Hoops, presented by Disney Parks. It's part of Judgment Week. We're tied at 34, Duke and Maryland. The halftime score in the first meeting was Duke 40, Maryland 15. What a difference, huh?
It has been a tremendous difference, and Maryland has done it really defensively, and they've done it by getting points in the lane, whether it's by the drive or in transition. Maryland has done a really good job because Duke is switching screens. Watch, there's going to be a screen here by Landon Milburn for Grievous Vasquez. These two players are going to switch, the two defenders, and Milburn is going to be open. Not a lot of pressure on the ball, so Adrian Bowie able to deliver it, and Milburn with the easy opportunity. Off the drive, middle drives have been given up by this Duke defense, and Maryland has been able to get to the basket. They have scored the majority of their points, 28 in the paint, and Duke has stayed with them by knocking down three-point shots.
And that was our time to talk strategy, brought to you by Charles Schwab.
Mike, in the victory over North Carolina, this Maryland team hit 13 threes. They have hit none thus far in the game against Duke.
If they get those layups, they don't need any threes, do they? And they turn it over to start the first possession of the second half.
Maryland played a good bit of zone toward the end of the first half. They are back to man now, and in the first half, Grievous Vasquez didn't really guard Elliott Williams. He just stayed in the lane, playing essentially a one-man zone. He's doing the same thing.
Williams tries to go baseline. Down into Thomas, blocked by Neal. A jumper short. Neither team has done much on the offensive board. Mosley had a really good look and missed it. Mosley got a hand on that pass inside, but there's a foul. Let's check in with Heather.
Well, the way Duke played defense, they said at the half they were very fortunate to be tied at the half. They said they've got to be a lot more assertive, a lot more aggressive. Like Jay said, allowed 28 Maryland points in the paint, allowed the Terps to shoot 54%. Offensively, Duke very disappointed that Kyle Singler only had one first-half basket. A big point of emphasis in the second half will be getting Kyle involved early. Something to look for, guys.
Well, Heather, when you talk about that 54% that Duke gave up in the first half, in the 2 games since Duke has gone to this new lineup, inserting Elliott Williams into the lineup and moving John Shire to the point, Duke gave up 54% to St. John's and 61% shooting to Wake Forest. Now, they forced 19 turnovers average in those 2 games. That made up for giving up so many easy baskets, but I think this Duke team has got to lock down better defensively.
And there's a foul on Elliott Williams trying to apply pressure in the backcourt to Vasquez. That's his second. If you're forcing all those turnovers, you can probably live with the consequences of it. But if you're not, Vasquez got it. Followed his own shot. Vasquez right now is on pace to get close to another triple-double. 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 12 points.
Well, if you had to describe Vasquez's play in 2 words, you would say under control. He has been under control the entire game.
Something he has not always been.
Well, Landon Milburn has done a really nice job on Kyle Singler. Defensively, he's been great. And Mosley's down. He injured his ankle.
Nice drive by Williamson. Yeah, he's hurt. And I gave you the wrong figures on Vasquez. He has 10 points and not 12. Boy, Mosley is in a lot of discomfort.
It looked like he got tangled up trying to get through that crowd on the left side. And he might have actually twisted an ankle. Yeah, there it goes. He just stepped on the foot of Kyle Singler trying to negotiate around that screen. And you know, those certainly don't look good, and they're very painful. And Sean Mosley has had a very good game thus far. You hate to see him have to leave, especially as hard as he has played and as much as he's put into this game.
Gary Williams out to check on him. Mosley, the Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Maryland out of Baltimore last year. Gets a nice hand from this appreciative crowd.
You never know how those are going to go, Mike.
No.
When you twist an ankle like that, but I would not be surprised to see Mosley get that thing retaped and get back into this game while he's still warm.
Yeah, the last thing you want him to do is sit and have it get stiff. Hayes will bring it up against Elliott Williams, the freshman, who has really made a difference. Singler now on Vasquez. Ravis penetrates, puts it up, did not get the roll, but draws the foul.
Now, Duke is switching every screen. Because they are all similarly sized, they can afford to do that. And it was very effective the first time that Maryland and Duke played. Basically, everything Duke did was effective in that game.
It was.
41-point game. Everything they did was fine. But, you know, in this game, Vasquez has gotten some mismatches where he feels like he can drive a bigger player. And he's such a good free throw shooter, it's odd to watch him miss. But
sure is.
When he gets Thomas or Singler on him, he's got a chance to drive it.
Well, he's the best free throw shooter in the conference and 9th in the country. But here's what he did against North Carolina. He was just incredibly good. Missed them both. 89.1% free throw shooter, and he comes up empty. Shire trying to get away from Hayes. Singler has been basically ineffective on offense. Zubek backing in on Neal and fouled by Neal. If you look at the ACC standings, these are updated. Duke now second place, the only 4-loss team in the conference, one behind North Carolina. In the loss column, they still have yet to meet for the second time. Clemson, Florida State, and Wake all with 5 losses. Maryland, with this late rush, is up to 6-6. Bodies flying. Zuback scores as Neal hit the deck. And Neal raises his hands to say, where was the whistle?
Well, Zuback just ran down the lane. He started up by the elbow of the free throw line, ran down the lane, and just threw Neal out of the way.
He was wide open, got the ball and scored. Neal just flew out of bounds.
And you want to make Neal fly, you got to hit him pretty good. Neal's going to try to return the favor, rolls over the top of the rim. And Zuback will get the foul.
Well, take a look at this play. We saw something like this when Michigan State and Purdue played last week, where Goran Suton was thrown to the ground by Robbie Hummel, a similar play by Brian Zuback.
But what do they say in football? If they don't call it, it's not holding?
That's correct.
If they don't call it, it's not a foul.
And I've watched Dave Neal for 4 years. I don't think that bump is going to knock him off his feet and out of bounds. He's 260 and solid. You're going to have to hit him a little harder.
Yeah, that may be true. It may have been he put a little bit extra into it, but there's one thing when you're in that spot, the defender, if he's in a legal guarding position, is supposed to be entitled to that spot. I kind of like the way the officials have managed this game. They've done a really good job of letting the players play, but still calling the fouls as they should be called for the most part.
It's a great crew we have. Henderson fouled as he tried to get around Cliff Tucker. That's 3 on Tucker.
And the crowd right now is getting on the officials because they think, wait a minute, Dave Neal got thrown to the ground, you're calling a touch foul. But that's an absolute in basketball officiating. When you put 2 hands on a ball handler on a drive, they're going to call that every time. Every single time, and the players know that.
Shire out of the corner for 3. Neal with a rebound. Singler knocked it away and got the score.
Right now, Mike, this game is about toughness. When the ball is long or loose, who's going to come up with it?
And Gary Williams wants a timeout, and he's giving the officials an earful before he turns to talk to his players. He doesn't like the way this is going because Duke has taken the lead. Duke with its biggest lead at 41-37 Saturday afternoon on ABC at 3:30. You'll see either Duke and Virginia Tech or number 3 Oklahoma and Texas Tech. College basketball presented by KFC, part of Judgment Week on ABC Saturday. Check your local listings for the game in your area. We have been informed that Gravis Vasquez, instead of 3, has 4 personal fouls. That's huge for Gary Williams and the Terps.
Picked up 2 fouls in 1:18. And that means that Eric Hayes is going to have to take a much bigger role of leadership in this second half, as will Adrian Bowie.
Bowie right down the lane, a lot of contact, no whistle on that one. Could have easily been a charge.
Well, he made that drive without really making any passes. And when you do that, you're doing it against a set defense. That's not the way that Maryland was able to drive the ball in the first half. They got much better movement.
Zuback, boy, that was a difficult pass to attempt, trying to get it for Singler. He was double-teamed at the baseline. Zuback getting more minutes in the second half than he did in the first.
Now, he's given him some very good minutes. He's been solid in this game. Used his body, used his size.
Maryland with 1 field goal so far in this half. Singler got caught in too deep, threw it away. Hayes pushing it back. Milborn, he's been quiet lately.
He's a good face-up player. Step your move.
He's really a 3-man. And anytime he gets the ball in the post, he's going to face up and put the ball on the deck.
The foul on number 12, Kyle
Foul was on Singler. It's the second on the sophomore from Medford, Oregon.
The one thing that Maryland really hasn't gotten much of is second chance points, mostly because they haven't missed a lot of shots.
Well, that's true, too.
Landon Milburn, one of the better offensive rebounders in the ACC, averages over 3 offensive rebounds a game, and really only 6'6", but really battles inside. He's had a really good year.
And he's gotten better, too, as the season has worn on. Cuts the lead to 2, Milburn with 10. Duke with numbers. Smith, just nobody shut him down, so he just kept coming. Nolan Smith with the layup.
I'm not sure with this lineup out there, full court pressure is going to be too successful.
Nolan Smith just got lit up by Neal, and he is down.
They need to get to him. He is
Neal for 3, and now they've got to call timeout. Mike Krzyzewski is really upset about that screen.
So that young man is really hurting. There was nothing wrong with that screen. There needed to be a guy back there calling that screen out. That looked like a legal screen unless he raised his arms up.
Oh.
Yeah, that was a legal screen. He put a little bit into it, but you've got to expect that. Somebody needed to call it out. Well, you hope he's okay. That was a violent collision.
Nolan Smith being tended to on the Duke bench. Anybody that says this is not a collision sport is kidding themselves, Jay Billis.
Well, this has been a man's game. And we saw a little bit earlier that Brian Zubak trying to get to the lane. Now, these are 2 very different plays. Let's not try to say these are similar. You know, this is a blind screen, and Nolan Smith didn't see it. There was not a big guy. The guy that was guarding Dave Neal, and that was Brian Zubak, was supposed to be up there to call that screen out.
Yep.
That was a legal screen. Now, did he lean into it a little bit? Maybe. But that was legal.
And Nolan Smith. Oh, got Henderson. Holy cow.
Henderson.
Going up about 12 feet.
That was quite an answer.
Oh, I don't even care what the question was.
That young man has an extra step on his ladder that the rest of us just don't have.
5:42. Body still flying. This time it was Henderson. I was going to say Nolan Smith had grabbed his rib cage. Shot clock is down to 4. Hayes is going to have to do something with it against Zubak. Here we go. Paulus, nice kick out. Singler, short. Hayes, outlet. 2-on-1. Oh, and a block by Henderson, and he got the loose ball. Are you kidding?
Just a tremendous athlete. Landon Milburn flew right at the shooter in the corner, Singler, and they had a nice little 2-on-1 break, and Gerald Henderson erased it.
The athletes have come out. Henderson with a runner.
He is playing with such an extraordinary level of confidence.
You know, Jay, after contact like that, a lot of times the athletes take over. They get upset with what's going on, and they're the guys that run the show.
Well, it may be the athletes, but I'd say the players. That young man's more than an athlete.
You're right.
Player. And I'll tell you what, I can't remember a player like Henderson that has exploded in the middle of a season like he has.
Maybe Len Bias in his sophomore year exploded that way. Back-to-back plays like this. I mean, that's up by the top of the square. And then a jumper over a pretty darn good defender that had a hand in his face. I mean, those are 3 all-ACC plays.
Landon Milburn knocks it down. What a ball game we have. Tied at 47, coming up on 13 and a half minutes. Henderson has to kick it back to Shire. Good weave. Paulus open, in and out. Shire kept it alive. May have gotten away with a hack. Singler into the lane, got the roll.
What a physical contest,
isn't it?
There are bodies flying all over the place, and when that ball's loose, you better go after it with 2 mitts. Sean Mosley, after that ankle injury, back into the game.
Shire's going to be called for a hold on Milbourne.
It's almost impossible to make a clean cut in this game. You're getting bumped and chucked on every cut.
Gerald Henderson, the way he played in November and December, he was a very, very good player. You don't average 11, 13
in a month without being really good. He's very good. But he has become a great player over the last couple of months, and his consistency at a high level has been really impressive.
He has become a superstar in a league full of incredible talent. Hayes trying to beat Paulus into the lane. Nice shot by Hayes. And again, the height advantage. He knows what he's doing, and he takes advantage of it. Hayes, 4 for 4 from the floor.
Well, Mike, when Grievous Vasquez went out with his 4th foul, we said that Eric Hayes had to be the guy that stepped forward as a leader, and he has done that. That's why Maryland is tied in this game with 12 and a half to go.
Singler passed on a 3 to go down the lane and drew a foul on Milbourne, only the first of the junior.
You take a look at the 2 coaches, Krzyzewski and Williams, and they say there aren't competitors and characters like there used to be. Forget it. Those guys couldn't play a game of jacks without being competitive.
It'd be a nasty game of jacks, wouldn't it?
There'd be elbows flying.
That's right. Tied at 49. Mosley. Man, you go anywhere near Henderson with a basketball in your hand, he's going to get you.
He's got 3 blocks. He's been everywhere. He's done it on both ends of the floor.
He's going to get a breather right now, as is Cliff Tucker from Maryland. Hayes to inbound. If you're watching this game and you think maybe one of your friends isn't, call them up, tell them to turn this on. You don't want to miss the rest of this.
Tell them to put on some shoulder pads and a helmet first.
Bowie. Adrian Bowie is a 23% long-range shooter. He had only made 11 of 47 all year. He shot that one like he was the best there is. Holy cow, what a game.
Adrian Bowie, a scoring point guard, but he's the type of guy that attacks in transition, not the type you expect to pull up and drill a lefty 3 right in your face, but that's exactly what he did to give Maryland this lead.
In high school, you're right. He was a tremendous scorer, but not that good a shooter. He has not been that good a shooter at Maryland. Looked pretty good on this stroke. Saturday against North Carolina. They played so very hard against the number 3 Heels.
And they ran their offense, Mike. They got into their 2-3 set, ran those flex cuts. They call it their 2-play, and North Carolina just simply couldn't stop it in the second half and in the overtime.
Jay, they were down 16 at one point with 1 minute and 40 seconds to go in the game. Maryland was down by 9. And they were coming off a loss to Clemson. They could have folded easily, but they didn't want a huge game, and there's certainly been no fold in them tonight. They have given Duke everything they can handle and more, and right now the Terps are up by 3 with 11:40 to go in the ball game. You know, Mike, Heather Cox.
Mike, an update for you on Nolan Smith. You saw the very physical screen he took. He has remained on the bench during this timeout. Since he hit the deck, he has been receiving constant medical attention. The word I'm getting from the athletic trainers is that he is very woozy. He does have a head injury. He got the wind knocked out of him. They're not ready to call it a concussion yet. They haven't done all the testing, but he is very doubtful to return and won't return until he passes the standardized testing for that type of concussion, guys.
And And Heather, it looked like he got a forearm under the chin. Again, it was a legal screen, and David Neal, it was not a dirty play by any stretch of the imagination. But that doesn't mean it didn't hurt like crazy.
It hurts the same, doesn't it? And
yes, it does. And at one point, they were checking out the ribs on the left side of his rib cage, but you can see on that replay that one forearm, he caught it right under the edge of the chin, and that could be a knockout blow.
Well, the Maryland trainer came over to the Duke bench to get with the Duke trainer to make sure that they had everything they needed, and that was a very scary moment in this basketball game, and what has been a very physical contest and a well-played one.
Shire to inbound. Henderson got it. Duke is so good off the inbounds plays. They always have been.
Well, you have to be very resolute in making sure that you stay with Gerald Henderson. You cannot get bumped off on a screen.
Henderson has 14. How few turnovers have there been in this game? This has been exceptionally well executed.
It has. It's been a very solid game. Both teams have taken care of the ball in what's been a very physical contest.
Neal gets it to Milbourne. Singler is on him. Loves the drive. Got it into the lane. Had it blocked. That's going to be a jump ball. It will go on the possession arrow to Duke. Good defense.
Well, Maryland has gotten some really good minutes out of their bench, with Grievous Vasquez having gone out of the game with 4 fouls very early. You know, Maryland has done a really good job to stay ahead thus far in the game, but you know, to stay right with Duke and have this a one-possession game.
Of course, Gary Williams can afford to leave him there as long as it's tied or he's ahead.
He can get down to 8 minutes.
Henderson, what height he got on that jumper, but missed it. Hayes fouled by Williams. Williams was trying to deny the point guard the basketball and picked up his third personal.
Well, just not a smart play by Williams, because you're trying to deny right out in the open using your body like that. You're going to get a foul call. You have to pick your spots in a game like this. That's something that'll come with experience. He's done, I think, an extraordinary job in the last 3 games, especially defensively. I mean, he stays right with you, and his length and athleticism have been a real asset.
He was obviously ready when his number was called. He had worked so hard in practice according to Mike Krzyzewski. It had not paid off in minutes played, but it is now.
They're doing a better job on guarding drives. They're angling them out. So what was a 1-dribble drive before has now been a 2-dribble drive.
Hayes, shot clock at 5. Mosley with a tough shot off balance. It's an air ball. And Nolan Smith being walked to the Duke locker room. His return would be highly doubtful.
Duke has really ratcheted up his defense in the last few possessions.
Blue Devils with a chance to take the lead. Henderson with a runner. He's fouled before the shot. And the crowd really didn't like that call. The foul on Mosley was his third. And there is Nolan Smith being escorted to the Duke locker room, presumably to undergo further evaluation, because he was drilled on this Neal screen. Duke inbounds. Henderson, no. And a follow and a foul, as Thomas did a good job getting the offensive rebound. Tomorrow at 7, Judgment Week continues on ESPN. Bob Huggins goes back to Cincinnati for the first time, and his Mountaineers will take on the Bearcats. Brent Musburger and Bob Knight will call that game for you. Thursday night showdown on ESPN.
West Virginia's done a great job all season long not having their point guard Joe Mazzulla in the lineup.
Yep.
That's an NCAA tournament team as well.
And they have gotten better and better. They've had a couple of huge wins lately. And Huggins just knows what he's doing. Neal comes back in as Singler goes to the free throw line with a chance to give Duke the lead at the 10:03 mark.
You know, Mike, we've seen that screen that Dave Neal set a bunch of times, and nobody feels worse than Nolan Smith because he got his bell rung, but the guy that feels almost as bad as Brian Zubek, who should have been up there to call that screen out.
Yeah.
You certainly hope that Nolan Smith is going to be okay. That was such a violent collision.
Bowie kicks it out. Neal can shoot from out there. Missed that one, though. Shire, 1-on-3. Takes it in and he's fouled.
Cliff Tucker had an opportunity to get that ball when it was loose. And instead of getting down on the floor for it, just kind of reached down. And that was the difference in Maryland gaining possession or Duke taking it the other way. I mean, when the ball is loose in this game, both teams have to get on it.
Yeah, this is not a reach-for-it game, is it? Shire, one of the best free throw shooters in the league. He's in the top 10 at 83.7. He's had 20 or more points 3 of his last 5 games and is coming off a career-high 30 against Wake Forest. Both he and Henderson had a career high in that game. They combined for 65 points.
First time 2 Duke players have combined for 30 in a game since 1980.
I was going to say, since maybe you and Allery did.
Yeah, oh, yeah. If he scored 60 and I scored 5.
Milborn. Boy, he's a good player. Landon Milborn with 14 points, tied again at 54.
And this is all without Grievous Vasquez. This has been a heck of an effort by Maryland.
Williams slashes. Elliott Williams, the freshman, seeing more and more time and making more and more critical plays, particularly on defense. He has given Duke the lead with 9:06 to go from Comcast in College Park. All year long.
Well, it's been played so well and so hard. And I can tell you, out of those last 2 huddles, there's no way that there was a whole lot of X and O talk.
You know, this game has come down to getting loose balls, grabbing big rebounds, stepping up to the line, showing toughness by knocking your free throws down.
Hayes nearly carried it. Tough try for a pass on Mosley. Maryland fortunate they will maintain possession. Singler will come back in as McClure was in there only briefly. Still no sign of Vasquez with those 4 fouls. Milborn.
I think Terry Williams can wait till he gets down to the 8-minute mark or maybe that last time, the 8-minute timeout before he puts Vasquez back in.
Bowie with the shot clock running down, goes baseline, reverse, no, but draws the foul. Nice job by Adrian Bowie.
And a strong right-handed drive by a young man who's a left-handed player.
Bowie's just a sophomore out of Greenbelt, Maryland. In ACC play, he's averaged 10 points per game.
7 on the team. Adrian Bowie for 2.
The free throws have really helped this Maryland team throughout the season. You know, this is a team that has not shot the ball well from the perimeter, but from the free throw line, it's a very good free throw shooting team.
Well, when you're playing that many guards, you would expect to get those good numbers from the line. Shire against a double team. Singler helping out against the press.
Duke has a number of players that can bring the ball up, and now they're going to initiate the offense with Williams and allow Shire to work off the ball.
Henderson. No offensive rebounding tonight. Tied at 56. Bowie working on Thomas.
Maryland's got to continue to get some movement. Right now, they're just standing. Trying to call a play out there. Get into a set.
Bowie cut off the baseline. Wheels inside. Got everything but the basket. What a pretty move.
But that was just one guy essentially going against 5. He almost pulled it off, but there was not one pass made in that possession for Maryland. Here comes Vasquez to the scorer's table.
Singler lost his footing, and it's a travel. Vasquez will come back at the 7:33 mark in a tie game. 56-56, 7:33 left.
Time in
the Atlantic 10. Dayton facing Rhode Island. Time winding down in overtime, 91 apiece. Marquise Jones move, and then with his back to the bucket, throws it up and drops it down before the buzzer. They're now 3-1 in overtime this year. Mike and Jay.
All right, thanks, John. A tie game here, and Disney Parks celebrates the moments of the game. What a performance by Gerald Henderson tonight, Jay.
Well, Gerald Henderson is not only a great athlete, he has matured into a great college basketball player. Just off the charts with his ability to get up and finish, block shots. He is knocking down perimeter shots. He's driving with great poise. He has just had a terrific game.
Milbourne got the basket on the goaltend as Henderson caught it off the glass. And Maryland goes back on top, 16 points.
Any opportunity that Duke gets to drive Grievous Vasquez, I think they've got to do it.
Henderson rejected. Shot clock will not recycle. The ball didn't touch the rim. Shire, tough three over Hayes. He's short. Offensive rebound and the follow by Elliott Williams.
What a smart play and an alert play to get that loose ball and quickly get it up off the glass.
The numbers on Vasquez after the triple-double against North Carolina. He has 10 points, 6 rebounds, 5 assists to go with those 4 fouls.
Maryland going back to their 2-play, which is that little baseline flex cut. And with Vasquez in the game, when he catches the ball and Maryland blasts off that baseline screen, Vasquez is the one guy that can really deliver that ball. Such a good passer. He can see not only the cutter, but the screener as well.
Vasquez will sit here. Bowie with the free throw and missed.
Gary Williams trying to substitute Vasquez offense and defense. He doesn't want him picking up a foul on the defensive end, especially when we've got a tie ball game.
Tied at 58. Thomas for Duke has 4 fouls now, so McClure comes in.
Pick and pop.
Singler kicks it out to Henderson. Good head fake, takes a 15-footer. Williams with another rebound at 6'4", and that will be goaltending on Maryland. How about this kid? 6'4", 180. He's gotten 2 offensive rebounds on successive possessions.
And, Mike, the offensive rebounds he's gotten have been off the floor. You know, he's getting down and getting loose balls when there are a bunch of hands around him. I mean, that ball is on the floor there, and Elliott Williams was the guy that comes up with it and winds up getting the score off the goaltender.
13 points and 5 boards for the newest Duke starter. Williams trying to stay with Vasquez. Now Henderson picks him up. Gravis nearly threw it away. Milbourne will give it back to him. 14 on the shot clock. Vasquez trying to get by Henderson. Tough shot. Milbourne skies a rebound. Oh, and almost had a shot at a 3-point play. Did draw the foul, but that ball just refused to fall for him.
Well, we have seen Gerald Henderson climb the ladder, and Landon Milbourne has that same extra step on that ladder. Watch how high number 1 Landon Milbourne gets off of 2 feet. I mean, that's a big-time rebound.
Yeah, I'd like to see them both go up together and see who'd get the high jump. Milbourne hits the free throw, 85% free throw shooter.
Returning for Gravis Vasquez, 14.
Coming into his own now, he's increased his scoring and rebounding better than 50% off a year ago. 18 points tonight for Milbourne.
1-2-1-1 ball.
And out of bounds, a rare turnover in this game.
That looked like the same kind of turnover that Duke had against Clemson against their pressure.
Sure did.
You know, running away from the ball, not coming to it, then catching, facing, and attacking the pressure.
Milbourne back it in, and he walked.
Two great athletes going at each other. And Gerald Henderson moving his feet so effectively to stay in front of Milbourne on that left-handed drive.
Heather Cox, what do you have?
Well, after the collision, you saw Duke's Nolan Smith go to the locker room. He was feeling very nauseous anxious, so officials did escort him to the locker room with an empty plastic bag where he will remain under observation until the end of the game. Now, he's had 14 double-figure scoring games this season. Certainly will miss his presence late in this game.
They'll have to do it without him down the stretch, and Henderson with a long three to give Duke a 3-point lead. Gerald Henderson with 17 points.
Well, Gerald Henderson in transition just made a cut into the lane and then bumped back off a screen by Kyle Singler. That's a little play that Duke runs as a quick hitter in transition.
Pretty tough to guard a guy who can slash down the lane and then step out and hit one from 23 feet. 5 minutes and 10 seconds to go in regulation. Duke with a 3-point lead over Maryland. To Calvin Hill in the foreground. Reggie Love behind him. Of course, Grant Hill had those great years at Duke. Vasquez. Hayes tried to dump it underneath, had it tipped and taken away.
Duke's defense has been much better on the drive in the second half. In the first half, Maryland was getting to the basket almost at will.
That one's knocked away. Boy, Elliott Williams does not look like a freshman who didn't play very many minutes up until the last week, does he?
Well, it's really a great story the way he has emerged in the last 3 ball games, because he was playing very sparingly up until the last 3 games. And he's averaged 11 points in the last 2 against St. John's and against Wake Forest, shooting 71% in those 2 games. And he's come into this one and has played extraordinarily well, having 13 points in this game thus far.
Well, he's one of those examples where the coaches say you got to work hard in practice and be ready if we call your number. He's been ready. Singler for 3, a huge 3-point shot that makes it 66-60.
Well, Gerald Henderson is able to get into the middle off the drive. And he has found open people. That time Singler ready to shoot when the ball arrives.
Biggest lead for either team right now, 66-60.
Here's where Maryland needs to run their offense.
Bowie with a runner, got it. Nice use of the glass by Adrian Bowie to cut the lead back to 4. Well, Duke and Carolina, obviously the greatest basketball rivalry in the country, but Duke and Maryland has been even more intense than that one. These teams have had some beauties in the last few years. Henderson with a drive, and I don't think Bowie was ever going to get that call. Or Mosley, he picked up his 4th. Timeout, 3:39 left. Welcome back to the Comcast Center. Championship trophy on display here. Look at the evolution of this series. Starting in 1995, Duke won 7 of the 11. Then 9 out of 5 from 2000 to 2004. They still have the edge since 2005, but Maryland has had some of its biggest wins against the Blue Devils. Henderson goes to the line. Quite a line for this young man tonight. 17 points, 6 boards, 3 assists, 3 blocks, and it goes beyond the numbers. The plays that he makes ignite the crowd and ignite his teammates.
And he's made plays when no one else has been stepping forward to make them. And the biggest difference, aside from Gerald Henderson in this game for Duke, has been Elliott Williams. On a night where John Shire hasn't shot the ball particularly well, when Kyle Singler, who has played some tough minutes, has 5 turnovers, Williams has come up big with those 13 points, and his defense has been pretty darn good.
He has been exceptional. The ball to Vasquez. Singler with a block.
That's it for Vasquez if they call the charge there.
Yep, offensive foul, pushing off. And that is a huge blow to Gary Williams to lose Gravis Vasquez. One of the most emotional and great leaders. Only 10 points tonight. Played 22 minutes total because of foul trouble, and Gary Williams giving the officials an earful.
With a switch off the screen.
And that's an awfully tough call.
It is.
Because Gerald Henderson was essentially standing, well, no, he was outside of that where that little box would have been. I mean, he did a good job of coming over from the weak side. It's just a tough call for your 5th foul, but a good call.
Vasquez usually pretty good at pulling up on those. Not that time. So all he can do is be a cheerleader. And a downer for him after the tremendous emotional uplift he gave this team against North Carolina. The lead is 6, and Duke's going to work on the clock a little bit. They are very, very good at this. They've always been able to spread the court, great spacing. Henderson into the lane, a little push shot, no. Got the offensive rebound, kicked out to him. Good job by Singler to keep it alive.
And that ball has been loose. Duke has just come up with more of them in the second half. That was a big offensive rebound for Duke to get because they get to chew up more time on the clock.
They've had 13 of those, Jay. They are a better rebounding team than Maryland. Williams lost his balance but kept the dribble alive. Singler with a runner, and he's fouled. That's going to be on Mosley, and that'll be 5 on Mosley.
Mosley just slid underneath on that drive.
And Singler, trying to make sure he did not charge, just kept drifting to the right, and Mosley kept drifting with him.
But that was really all set up by Duke getting that offensive rebound. And also by the use of the shot fake. You can see that clearly slid right underneath, but there have been so many times in this game where Duke has made use of the shot fake and Maryland has left the floor, and that has opened up some drives, and all of a sudden you got 5-on-4 opportunities and you put Maryland into help situations. That's really hurt the Terrapins.
This has been a magnificent ball game. Right now, Duke with a 6-point lead and 2:25 to go. And Singler will go to the line trying to give the Blue Devils their biggest lead of the night. They have been given everything they can handle and then some. By the Maryland Terrapins, the same team that knocked off North Carolina in their last outing. But they'll have to do it without Gravis Vasquez, who was fouled out of the ball game.
Well, they did it for 10 minutes while he was completely out when he picked up his 4th foul with a little over 17 minutes to go. So they've proven they can do it. There's Henderson going over the back.
That'll be a foul on Henderson. Remember, this is the same Duke team that won 85-44 at Cameron Indoor Stadium. Just blew Maryland out from the very beginning. The Terps just looked awful that night. Totally dominated, but not tonight. They are showing you that they are a team that may have to be dealt with in the ACC tournament and looking for an NCAA bid as Milborn goes to the line.
Well, that foul by Henderson, he should have used some better judgment there. And Landon Milburn has had a great game. 19 points. He's been knocking his free throws down up until that point. But if he had knocked both those down, we still are looking at a 2-possession game.
7 out of 8 from the line.
Duke can drive middle because of the way they're being shaded. Maryland's trying to force them into help, but that's allowing Duke to get into the paint.
They're so good at milking the clock and then still being able to get something out of it at the end of the possession, especially with a guy like Henderson. Good ball movement. Shire has a 3.
Oh, what a pass by Elliott Williams. That was not his shot. He made the extra pass and got it to Shire, the better shooter who had the better look. And anytime you get it to a shooter who is stepping into his shot.
And Elliott Williams is playing beyond what you would expect from a freshman in the clutch.
Well, especially coming in this late in the season. Gerald Henderson, after that screen, that basket was after Nolan Smith was knocked out of the game with that backcourt screen, and was a pretty darn big answer for Duke on the road. And he has played another outstanding game. And there to pick up the charge, which was the 5th foul on Gravis Vasquez, and knocked out the emotional leader of this Maryland team.
More of Judgment Week comes your way tomorrow night on ESPN at 7 Eastern, West Virginia and Cincinnati. In the Big East, then at 9, we go to the Big Ten. Number 16, Purdue against Michigan. Thursday night showcase on ESPN.
Right, Michigan really needs that game. I think if Michigan can beat Purdue, you have to expect they're going to be in the NCAA tournament.
Hayes fouled by Williams. That's 4 on the freshman from Memphis. Pitt, as soon as they get to be number 1, they get knocked off. That's what's happened all year long to everybody. Oklahoma, without its superstar, gets a loss. Connecticut gets win number 800 for Jim Calhoun tonight. And they are the presumptive number 1 in the next poll. I'm not sure whether you want it right now.
Yeah, it's been a rotating designation. But I still think that the 4 number 1 seeds are pretty well established. And my sense is that if Blake Griffin of Oklahoma comes back healthy soon, that the committee will give Oklahoma a break for having played a couple of games without him and not having done so well without him.
Well, what a talent he is.
Oh, well, I think he's been the player of the year nationally.
Yeah, I have to agree with you.
Don't want to pick up your dribble there. Good timeout call by Greg Paulus.
Yeah, he knew he made a mistake, walked into a double team, picked up his dribble immediately, called the timeout. He was going to make sure he wasn't going to get in any further trouble with 1:29 on the clock.
Well, number 1 has been quite a revolving door. The presumptive national champion as we started the season, North Carolina, seemed to be the invincible one, just waiting for the coronation. It hasn't quite worked out that way. Although I still think you can make a case of North Carolina being the best team. Pittsburgh took over, Wake Forest for a short time. Duke took over for a short time after that. And it has been one knockout punch for a number 1 team after another. You just can't seem to hold on to it for longer than a week or two, especially at this point in the season.
But you know what's been interesting about it? The teams that have elevated themselves to number 1 had played so brilliantly to get there. And then as soon as they got there, it didn't seem like they had more than 2 or 3 days, and somebody lit them up and they lost number 1.
Yeah, first of all, they're good teams that are having to go on the road. But also, these are younger teams that we've had in years past that have taken that mantle. There aren't a lot of teams that are senior dominated right now in college basketball. And we're seeing a little bit more volatility because of it.
Williams was fouled by Bowie. Now, Williams will go to the free throw line. Coming into this game, he was only shooting 51.9% from the line. And misses the first. Check in with Heather Cox. Heather?
Well, everybody amazed at what the freshman Elliott Williams is doing. In fact, so much so that they're questioning why Coach K didn't make the switch sooner. Coach K's response, it wouldn't have worked any sooner. It was the right timing. He was working so hard after practice every day with assistant coach Nate James on his defense and playing so hard it was the perfect collision of when preparation meets opportunity, and he was ready. Coach K said it's one of the best rewards of coaching. Somebody like him take advantage of an opportunity given to him.
Absolutely, Heather. And you got to hand this young man all the credit in the world for what he has done. 14 points tonight. And he doesn't look like a deer in the headlights a bit. And Nate James, the Duke assistant coach, working with him a lot after practice. The right teacher never hurts either.
Certainly helps to have people believe in you. And it can be really difficult for a player who has been essentially stuck on the bench to keep his spirits up and to realize that, hey, I still will have an opportunity, and when my number gets called, I have to be ready. That can be very difficult.
Maryland's hurt itself at the free throw line tonight. And Shire is fouled. They've only shot 63% from the stripe. And this is a team coming in. It was number 1 in the ACC at 77%. They could be a lot closer than they are right now had they shot what they normally have shot from the free throw line.
Yeah, it was a shock to the system when Grievous Vasquez at the start of the second half missed 2. Yeah, I'm not sure he's done that all season long.
No, it was a shock to his system because he was the best in the ACC coming in. Paulus has done very well for Duke coming off the bench tonight. Zubek gave them some good minutes. And you have to know this was what Mike Krzyzewski was hoping for. That if these guys are not going to start, that they would give them a spark coming in off the bench. Tonight, at least, it's worked that way.
Now, this is still a very good Duke team. I do not think this is a favorite to reach Detroit, but it's a good Duke team. And this team has been fragile. It was knocked back in the last couple of weeks with some losses, and especially the way they lost at Clemson.
Right.
And going up to Boston College and losing in a game that they felt like it was a must-win. You know, this has been a very important 3-game stretch for Duke. St. John's, Wake Forest, and this game. And this will give this team some renewed confidence.
Doesn't look very easy down the stretch either, does it? Of course, it's not going to be in this league. Bowie against Singler. No basket, but a foul on Kyle Singler.
Not a smart play at all by Singler. You don't want to foul when you've got a lead like this. But Maryland, 17-9. You know, they'll go to 17-10 if they can't make an extraordinary comeback the last 56 seconds, and they'll move to 1 game under 500.
But they'll be favored in 2 of the 3 that they play.
And Wake Forest has been vulnerable of late.
Yes,
that is a young team that if you can take them out of transition and make them play a half-court game, you've got an opportunity, and especially having them here at the Comcast Center.
I would give you even money that Gary Williams is going to have this team at 8-8 by the time they go to Atlanta for the ACC tournament. 51.1 seconds to go. Maryland can now only foul and hope.
Don't forget that early on in the season, Maryland beat Michigan State when they were ranked in the top 5.
That's right.
Maryland has 2 top 5 wins on the season. Virginia Tech beat Wake Forest. NC State beat Wake Forest. Boy, Wake Forest right there in the row, the gift that keeps on giving. Virginia's win over Clemson. I mean, we've had some teams in this league that have come up with some big wins. I don't think Virginia's going to be going anywhere. Virginia Tech had a huge win over Clemson today. I think Virginia Tech and Maryland both battling for NCAA tournament spots, and I think we could see as many as 7 teams, maybe 8. It's possible for 8.
Yeah.
But I think 7 is more likely out of the ACC. The issue is the ACC and the Big East have been so strong. With their beating each other up, how's that going to be valued by individual committee members and the way they judge games?
Yeah, you hope. You know, as often as people have said, it doesn't matter how many teams come out of one conference. You would like to see them live up to that statement this year, because you could see 17 teams out of these 2 conferences and not have an argument.
Once you get into the committee room and the automatic qualifiers are factored in, every team has to be judged as an independent, not as a member of a particular conference. They have to be looked at as an independent because these teams aren't playing round-robin schedules anymore.
No.
So a team that you can have a team that's with you or ahead of you in the standings that hasn't played as difficult of a schedule.
And that's a subjective view that the NCAA Tournament Selection Committee has got to take of each individual team to find out who are the 34 best teams after the automatics are factored in.
The eyes there. And this is really amazing to me. It's a sign of economics, I guess. The ACC announced it will have a public sale of tickets for the ACC tournament for the first time since 1966. John Swofford, the commissioner, said it's a unique combination of having the tournament in that big Georgia Dome where they can get, I think, about 34,000 in, and the economic times that we face. Milborn fouls out with 19 points, 5 rebounds, an outstanding game. A couple of free throws here for Duke, 76-67, 37 and a half seconds to go. And the crowd fouling out. It has been a tremendous effort as Henderson skies for another block. Tremendous effort for Maryland. There's certainly nothing to hang their heads about. And they were handicapped the entire game by the foul trouble of Grievous Vasquez, who spent a lot of time on the bench and then quickly fouled out after Gary Williams had saved him for most of the second half.
Yeah, his 4th foul was about a little over 17 minutes to go. It was probably the biggest play in the game. and Maryland battled. But Duke got so many loose balls in the second half, whether they were offensive rebounds or the ball was loose on the ground. Duke wound up coming up with those loose balls.
Well, they earned it, there's no doubt. And a big win for Mike Krzyzewski. And again, you've got to take a look at what he does. How many coaches in this country with a 22-5 record would make a drastic change in their lineup because 22-5 is not good enough? Well, they want to be better than that. They want to extend their season. A lot of guys would not expose themselves to the kind of criticism that a coach would get for changing his lineup late in the season.
Well, but the truth is, too, a lot of guys don't have a McDonald's All-American like Elliot Williams.
Absolutely.
That bench. So
yeah,
it's a pretty good problem to have when you can point to a guy like Williams and have him respond like he's responding.
Instead of saying, well, let's put Joe Schmo in the lineup and see what happens.
But this is a toughness win for Duke on the road. One that they really needed, and Maryland fought hard all game long.
Outstanding performance by Duke. They go to 23-5, 9-4 in the ACC, second place behind North Carolina, while Maryland will fall to 17-10, 6-7. Texas Tech and Texas on ESPN2. SportsCenter comes up next. Our final score is 78-67 from College Park. For more on our game, join us over on ESPN News. For Jay Billis and Heather Cox, this is Mike Patrick. Thanks for watching. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. Now let's go to John Saunders.